Let me start by saying something that most people are too uncomfortable to say out loud. Attraction is not about age. It never was. Men don't lose interest because a woman is older. They lose interest because of patterns, small, subtle habits that quietly drain desire over time. And the tragedy is, most women don't even realize they're doing them. They think they're being mature, secure, experienced, or emotionally intelligent, when in reality, they're slowly pushing a man away without ever raising their voice or creating drama. What makes this topic uncomfortable is that these habits don't look toxic on the surface. They look reasonable, they look logical, they even look healthy. And that's why they're dangerous. Because by the time a woman realizes something has changed, the man hasn't left physically, but emotionally, he's already gone. So if you want to understand why interest fades, not explosively but silently, you need to stop looking at grand gestures and start paying attention to the micro behaviors. The tone, the energy, the way presence changes over time. Desire is fragile, not weak, but sensitive. And once it starts feeling managed instead of felt, it begins to die. The first habit is over-explaining yourself. Experience teaches women to justify their decisions, their boundaries, their emotions. It feels mature to explain everything calmly and thoroughly. But attraction doesn't grow in explanations. It grows in certainty. When every choice needs a backstory, every feeling needs a disclaimer, and every boundary comes with a PowerPoint presentation, the polarity disappears. Men don't lose interest because you have boundaries. They lose interest because those boundaries feel negotiated instead of embodied. Confidence doesn't announce itself, it moves quietly. The moment your energy shifts from "this is who I am" to "let me help you understand why I am this way," desire starts to cool. The second habit is emotional over-availability. Older women often pride themselves on being emotionally open, supportive, understanding, always there. They respond quickly, they listen deeply, they anticipate needs. And while that sounds beautiful, there's a fine line between warmth and emotional saturation. When a man feels like he has full access to your emotional world at all times without earning it, mystery collapses. Desire needs space to breathe, it needs contrast. When everything is available instantly, nothing feels special. Interest fades not because you gave too little, but because you gave too much, too soon, with no emotional pacing. The third habit is teaching instead of relating. This one is subtle, and it kills attraction faster than almost anything else. Experience creates wisdom. Wisdom, when mishandled, turns into correction. When conversations start sounding like lessons about growth, communication, healing, emotional intelligence, the dynamic shifts. You're no longer a romantic presence, you're a guide, a mentor, sometimes even a therapist. Men don't fall in love with someone who feels like a self-improvement course. They fall in love with someone who makes them feel alive, not analyzed. The moment he feels studied instead of seen, his emotional guard goes up. The fourth habit is predictable emotional energy. Stability is valuable. Emotional regulation is healthy. But emotional flatness is not the same as maturity. When your reactions become overly measured, overly controlled, overly calm at all times, something vital disappears. Attraction feeds on emotional contrast. Lightness, intensity, softness, passion, unpredictability within safety. When every response feels processed before it's felt, you start to feel distant even when you're present. Men don't crave chaos, but they do crave aliveness. If your emotional range shrinks to reasonable, interest slowly fades. The fifth habit is leading with independence instead of invitation. Independence is powerful, but when it becomes a shield, it blocks connection. Statements like, "I don't need anyone, I'm fine on my own, I've been through worse," might sound strong, but emotionally, they close the door. Attraction thrives where a man feels invited, not unnecessary, not needed in a desperate way, but welcomed. There's a difference between strength and self-sufficiency as identity armor. When a woman unconsciously communicates that she has no space for contribution, men stop leaning in. Not because they want control, but because they want relevance. The sixth habit is bringing past clarity into present moments. Older women often know exactly what they want and what they don't. That clarity is earned, but when every present interaction is filtered through past conclusions, curiosity disappears. You stop asking, you start assuming, you finish sentences, you predict outcomes, and slowly the relationship loses its sense of discovery. Attraction doesn't survive certainty without curiosity. When a man feels like he's already been figured out, there's nothing left to explore. Interest fades when the future feels pre-written. The seventh habit is emotional self-protection disguised as standards. This is the most dangerous one because it feels justified. After disappointment, women raise standards, and that's healthy, but sometimes standards become walls. Every vulnerability is filtered. Every risk is calculated. Every emotional step forward is weighed against past pain. And while boundaries protect the heart, they can also starve it. Men don't lose interest because you protect yourself. They lose interest because they can feel when they're being kept at a safe distance. Desire requires exposure, not recklessness, but openness. When intimacy feels controlled rather than organic, it loses warmth. Now here's the part most people misunderstand. These habits don't make you wrong, they make you less reachable. An attraction doesn't die from conflict, it dies from emotional inaccessibility, from being too composed, too prepared, too guarded, too explained. Men don't walk away thinking, yo, she's older. They walk away feeling, there's nothing left for me to step into. Interest isn't lost in dramatic moments. It fades in the quiet ones, when laughter becomes polite, when curiosity becomes efficiency, when presence becomes performance, when connection turns into management. The irony is this: the very traits women develop to protect themselves after experience, control, clarity, composure, are the same traits that must soften for desire to survive, not disappear. Soften. Attraction doesn't ask you to be younger. It asks you to be more open than afraid. And the women who keep men interested aren't the ones who know the most. They're the ones who still allow themselves to feel deeply without turning every emotion into a strategy. Because the moment love feels safe but not alive, interest doesn't leave loudly. It simply stops coming back. And this is where most women get confused, because they think, I've done the work, I'm healed, I'm stable, I'm not reactive anymore. And yes, those things matter. But attraction is not a reward for healing. Desire doesn't show up because you're emotionally advanced. It shows up because there is energy between two people, and energy dies when everything becomes too controlled. One of the quiet shifts that happens with age is that women stop allowing themselves to be emotionally messy in safe ways. They become efficient with feelings. They compress emotions instead of expressing them. They don't flirt as freely. They don't tease as playfully. They don't let moments linger. Everything is processed, categorized, and filed away neatly. And while that may feel like growth, romance doesn't live in filing cabinets. It lives in moments that breathe, stretch, and sometimes even feel a little unguarded. Men sense this long before it's ever spoken. They feel when a woman is emotionally present but not emotionally available. There's warmth but no invitation. There's conversation but no tension. There's kindness but no spark. And slowly, without blame, their effort drops. Not because they stopped caring, but because there's nothing left to respond to. Another subtle pattern that develops is conversational seriousness. Everything becomes meaningful, deep, purpose-driven. Conversations are about alignment, values, future planning, emotional safety, all important. But when lightness disappears, so does attraction. Play is not immaturity. Play is emotional intelligence in motion. When a man feels like every interaction carries weight, expectation, or evaluation, he subconsciously starts to relax less. And attraction cannot survive where relaxation is missing. Then there's the habit of preemptive disappointment. Older women have learned that expectations hurt, so they lower them out loud. I'm not expecting much. I don't really care either way. Whatever happens, happens. And while this sounds detached and strong, it subtly communicates emotional withdrawal. Men feel it. They sense when enthusiasm is muted to avoid vulnerability. Desire responds to desire, not indifference disguised as maturity. Another quiet shift is the way conflict is handled. Instead of expressing emotion in the moment, it's stored, processed, and delivered later in a calm, composed, rational conversation. Again, this sounds healthy, but timing matters. Attraction is built in real-time emotional exchanges, not post-analysis. When reactions are delayed too long, the emotional pulse of the relationship weakens. Men stop feeling urgency. And where there's no urgency, interest slows down. There's also the tendency to overfunction emotionally, being the one who understands more, adjusts more, compromises more, regulates more. It creates imbalance. When one person carries all the emotional intelligence, the other unconsciously becomes passive. Attraction needs two active participants, not one adult and one apprentice, not one stable center and one orbiting presence. And perhaps the most overlooked element of all, desire expressed without apology. Many older women censor their desire. They don't want to appear needy, intense, or exposed, so they mute it. They hint instead of express. They wait instead of initiate. They hope instead of reveal. And men are not mind readers. When desire is hidden too well, it stops being felt altogether. This isn't about chasing. It's about allowing yourself to want and letting that wanting be visible. Desire that is never shown eventually disappears even inside the person who feels it. What no one says enough is this: attraction requires emotional risk, even after heartbreak, even after disappointment, even after wisdom. The more you try to eliminate risk entirely, the more you eliminate chemistry with it. Men don't pull away because a woman is confident. They pull away because confidence turned into distance. They don't lose interest because she knows what she wants. They lose interest because she stopped wanting in front of them. And as long as interactions feel safe but not stirring, respectful but not exciting, clear but not curious, interest will continue to fade quietly, without fights, without drama, without explanation, because attraction doesn't need perfection. It needs presence, openness, and the courage to still feel, even when you already know how the story could end. And this is where the real misunderstanding begins, because many women believe that if a man loses interest, it must be because he couldn't handle their strength, their standards, or their maturity. That explanation feels empowering, but it's often incomplete. The truth is quieter and harder to accept. Most men don't feel pushed out by strength. They feel shut out by emotional distance that looks like strength. Over time, experience teaches women to stay composed, to pause before reacting, to choose words carefully, to avoid giving too much too fast. And again, none of this is wrong, but attraction doesn't thrive in emotional minimalism. When a woman becomes highly self-contained, men stop feeling needed emotionally, not in a dependency sense, but in a connection sense. There's nothing to hold, nothing to lean into, nothing that feels unfinished. Another habit that slips in quietly is withholding spontaneity. Everything becomes planned, discussed, agreed upon. Spontaneity starts to feel unsafe or immature. But desire lives in the unexpected, in sudden laughter, in unplanned moments, in emotional responses that aren't filtered for correctness. When every interaction feels scheduled emotionally, chemistry starts to feel like a routine instead of an experience. Then there's the subtle habit of emotional neutrality during attraction moments. Compliments are received politely instead of playfully. Flirting is acknowledged instead of returned. Touch is accepted instead of mirrored. These small responses matter more than words. Attraction is reciprocal energy. When energy is received but not reflected, men feel like they're performing into a void. Over time, they stop offering. Another shift that happens is turning connection into evaluation. Every interaction becomes data. How he texts, how consistent he is, how emotionally available he seems, how aligned his actions are with his words. Again, this sounds wise, but when a man feels constantly measured, he stops relaxing into himself. Attraction requires psychological safety, not just emotional intelligence, and safety doesn't come from being observed, it comes from being accepted in the moment. There's also the habit of self-editing emotional expression. Older women often suppress reactions that feel too much. Excitement is toned down, disappointment is softened, passion is moderated. And while emotional regulation is valuable, attraction responds to authentic intensity, not perfectly managed reactions. When emotions are always moderated, connection starts to feel muted. And slowly, without anyone intending it, the relationship dynamic shifts from romantic to functional. Conversations become efficient, time together becomes predictable. The emotional charge that once existed fades, not because it was replaced by conflict, but because it was replaced by comfort without curiosity. Men don't announce when this happens. They don't sit down and explain that something feels off. They simply invest less. Texts become shorter. Initiation slows. Presence weakens. And from the outside, it looks confusing because nothing is technically wrong. But attraction doesn't disappear because something is wrong. It disappears because nothing is happening emotionally. The most painful part is that many women sense this shift and respond by becoming even more composed, even more controlled, even more self-sufficient. They pull back emotionally to protect themselves, and that creates the final distance, because the moment both people start protecting instead of engaging, desire has no room left to exist. Interest is sustained by emotional movement, by reactions, by responsiveness, by shared tension, not by perfection, not by safety alone. And as long as connection feels resolved instead of alive, interest will continue to fade, quietly, politely, and without confrontation. And here is the truth most people never say clearly enough. Men do not lose interest because a woman is older. They lose interest when attraction turns into structure, when emotion turns into management, when connection turns into control. The habits that quietly drain desire are not loud mistakes. They are silent defenses, built after pain, reinforced by experience, justified by logic. And over time, they create emotional distance where intimacy should live. You do not keep interest by proving how healed you are. You keep it by staying emotionally present, responsive, and alive, not younger, not smaller, not less intelligent, but open. Open to feeling without overthinking, open to expressing desire without apology, open to letting moments be imperfect instead of managed. Because attraction does not respond to how much you know. It responds to how much you allow yourself to feel in real time. And the women who hold a man's interest are not the ones who protect their hearts at all costs. They are the ones who know when to soften their guard without losing themselves. That balance between strength and warmth, between clarity and curiosity, between self-respect and emotional availability, that is what keeps desire alive. Not age, not experience, not standards. Presence does.